Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. Today I will be presenting an overview of tourism trend in Malaysia. Before we proceed, let me first introduce the presenters. My name is Aliana Tasha binti Rusdin. We will be presenting the topic tourism in Malaysia.
My name is Siti Aisyah binti Azlan and my matric number is 09DUP23F1009.
Tourism remains one of the Malaysia's most important economic sectors, contributing significantly to national growth and international visibility. So the data presented in this slide will help us understand the overall performance of the industry in 2024, including key patterns, major contributing regions, and the general direction of tourist arrivals. This analysis provides valuable insight into Malaysia's position as a regional and a global tourism destination. Now let's take a look at the pie chart showing international tourist arrivals by region to Malaysia in 2024. As we can see, Asian countries dominate the chart, a very large portion of 67%. This means that more than 2/3 of all international tourists come from our neighboring Southeast Asian region. It is clearly the largest segment, showing strong regional movement and easy accessibility. Next, we have East Asia, which contribute 15%. Although much smaller than Asian, this region still forms a significant share that represent about 1/6 of Malaysia international arrivals. Following that is South Asia, accounting for 7%. This group forms a moderate slice of the chart. This shows a steady inflow of tourists from countries like India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Both the Middle East and Europe each make up 4% of total arrivals. These two regions contribute small but stable portions, indicating a consistent yet lower volume of long-haul travelers. Lastly, the others category also records 4%, which include a smaller contribution from regions outside the main categories. This segment represent a minor slice of the overall tourist distribution. Here we can see the trend of international tourist arrivals to Malaysia from 2019 to 2024. In 2019, Malaysia started extremely strong, reaching about 26 million visitors. This one of the highest peaks, showing that the tourism industry was performing very well before the global crisis began. However, in 2020, the number of tourist arrivals plunged sharply around 4 million. This dramatic fall reflects the worldwide travel restriction that had an immediate impact on Malaysia's tourism sector. The situation worsened in 2021 when tourist arrival hit rock bottom, dropping to almost zero. This was the lowest point in the entire 6-year period and clearly shows how severely the pandemic affected international travel. Fortunately, in 2022, tourism began to recover slowly, increasing slightly to about 10 million visitors. Even though the growth was gradual, it marks the beginning of Malaysia's path back to normalcy. Then in 2023 and 2024, we see a remarkable surge. Tourist arrival rose sharply, reaching 20 million in 2023, and by 2024, the numbers soared and almost returned to pre-pandemic levels, reaching nearly 29 million visitors. Let's look at the top 5 source countries for tourist arrivals to Malaysia in 2024. As we can see from the bar chart, Singapore remains the leading contributor, with tourist arrivals soaring to more than 8 million people. This is the highest point among all countries, showing that Singapore continues to be Malaysia's strongest and most consistent tourism market. In the second place, we have Indonesia with around 4.5 million visitors. Their arrival numbers rose sharply, indicating strong travel movement between the two countries throughout 2024. Moving on to Thailand, we can see about 3 million tourists entering Malaysia. Although the number is slightly lower than the top two countries, Thailand's performance remains steady with only a slight dip compared to previous year. Next is China, contributing just above 2 million arrivals. These figures show a slow decrease as China number have not fully recovered yet. The trend has fluctuated earlier, but in 2024, it continued falling slightly. Lastly, we have Brunei, with nearly 1.8 million tourists. Even though the number is the lowest among the five, Brunei arrivals stayed stable without any major rise or decline.
As you guys can see, this is bar chart. The title is Domestic Tourist Expenditure by Activity. The first one is shopping. Shopping accounts for roughly a third, about 57%, of the total domestic tourist expenditure, making it the largest spending category. This indicates that most Malaysians prioritize shopping during their trips, likely spending on souvenirs, local products, and gifts. The amount spent on shopping is slightly more than a third of total expenses, showing it plays a dominant role in travel spending habits. The second one is food and beverage. Spending on food and beverages makes up a quarter, approximately 26% of total expenditure. This shows that eating out and trying local cuisines are important parts of the domestic travel experience. The percentage is slightly more than a quarter, suggesting that Malaysians are willing to allocate a significant portion of their budget to culinary experiences. Next, accommodation. Accommodation contributes nearly a fifth, about 80% of total spending. This means that while lodging is a necessary expenses, it is less dominant compared to shopping or food. The proportion shows that many travelers may choose affordable or mid-range options, allowing them to spend more on other activities. The next one is transportation. Transportation expenditure makes up slightly more than a tenth, around 12% of total spending. This includes costs such as fuels, tolls, and public transport. The share indicates that travel within Malaysia is relatively accessible and cost-effective, and transportation does not take up a large portion of the travel budget. The last one is recreation and entertainment. Recreation and entertainment form below a tenth, just 7% of the total expenditure, making it the smallest category. This suggests that Malaysians spend less on leisure activities such as theme parks, cultural shows, or guided tours. The low percentage might reflect a tendency to focus on shopping and food as main activities instead of paid entertainment. The second one is line graph, which is tourism revenue growth in Malaysia. In 2019, Malaysians' tourism revenue started strongly, recording around 90 billion ringgit Malaysia. This year marks the initial high point before any decline occurred. Tourism activity was vibrant, with a healthy influx of domestic and international tourists contributing to high revenue. The industry was stable and performing steadily well. Next, in 2020, tourism revenue plunged drastically to around 20 billion ringgit Malaysia, representing a sharp decline of nearly 80% compared to 2019. This steep fall can be linked to the COVID-19 pandemic and the global travel restrictions that severely affected tourism activities. The drop was sudden and severe, hitting the industry hard. The third one, by 2021, tourism revenue hit rock bottom, falling slightly further to around 10 billion ringgit Malaysia. The industry was still struggling with border closures and limiting domestic travel. Expenditure remained very low, showing almost no recovery. The overall situation stayed flat and weak during this period. The fourth one is in 2022, the tourism revenue began to rise sharply, increasing to roughly 50 billion ringgit Malaysia. This marks the beginning of recovery as domestic travel restrictions eased and tourists started exploring local destinations again. the revenue soared significantly, showing a promising rebound. And the last one is 2023. From 2023 to 2024, tourism revenue soared dramatically, climbing to nearly 280 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2024, an extraordinary rise of over 400% from 2022. This represents a peak point in the trend, showing strong post-pandemic recovery and renewed enthusiasm in the tourism sector. The growth was remarkable and sustained, signaling a complete turnaround for Malaysia's tourism industry. As you guys can see, this is the bar graph, domestic tourist arrival by state in Malaysia. The first bar graph is Selangor recorded the highest number of domestic tourists in 2024, reaching around 32 million visitors. This figure shows that tourism in Selangor soared to its peak, likely due to its vibrant urban attractions and accessibility. It represents a steady rise compared to previous years, making Selangor the leading domestic travel destination in Malaysia. The second graph is about Kuala Lumpur, followed closely with about 26 million domestic tourists. Although slightly lower than Selangor, the capital city's tourism sector remained strong and stable, supported by shopping, cultural events, and culinary experiences. The number of visitors increased slightly, showing continued local interest in city tourism. As you guys can see, the third bar shows that Johor came next with around 21 million tourists. The state's tourism performance remains steady throughout the year, driven by attractions like Legoland Malaysia, Desa Coast, and proximity to Singapore. Compared to 2023, Johor's arrivals rose gradually, showing consistent growth in domestic travel. The next bar is Perak, Perak attracted around 18 million domestic visitors, showing a slight dip from the previous year. Despite this, Perak still maintained a solid position, with heritage sites such as Ipoh and Taiping continue to draw family and cultural tourists. The decline might be due to travel shifting interest to coastal or urban destinations. So, the last bar shows that Penang recorded the lowest number of tourists among the 5 states, with around 16 million visitors. Tourism in Penang fell slightly compared to earlier years, indicating a minor drop in domestic travel activity. However, the state's tourism remained relatively stable thanks to its strong reputation for heritage, cuisine, and seaside attractions. So, the conclusion is, the graph supports this conclusion by showing that the number of tourists visiting Malaysia has increased over the years. This growth proves that Malaysia's efforts to promote its attractions and improve tourism service are working. It also shows that the country is becoming a popular and welcoming destination for travelers from around the world. That's all from us. Thank you.